Krishna. So we are back to our today's Bhagavad Gita study. So we'll chant the prayers first of all. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shyotapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sragajatam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwavanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Vanchakalpataruvyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, last time we discussed second chapter, 48th verse. 48th verse we saw, 49th verse we will see today. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, contents of the Gita summarized, 49th verse. Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam ganvicha kripana falahetava. Durena, discard it at a long distance, he certainly avaram, abominable karma activity, buddhi yoga, on the strength of Krishna consciousness. Dhananjaya, O conqueror of wealth, buddhau, in such consciousness, sharanam, full surrender, anvicha, try for, kripana, misers, falahetava, those desiring fruitive results. O Dhananjaya, translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities far distant by keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. So what is Krishna saying here? That be away from all kind of abominable activities and just surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. If we are attached to the results of our activities, then they are termed as misers. Purport: one who has actually come to understand one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord gives up all engagements save working in Krishna consciousness. So one who has actually understood that we are, what is our position? Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. Then one is not concerned with anything except Krishna consciousness. As already explained, Buddhi Yoga means transcendental loving service to the Lord. Such devotional service is the right course of action for the living entity. Only misers desire to enjoy the fruit of their own work just to be further entangled in material bondage. So, if we are attached to the results of our activities, then what happens? We get bound up by karma chakra. We get bound up in the cycle of action reactions. Except for work in Krishna consciousness, all activities are abominable. So when Krishna is saying that keep all abominable activities far distant, that means what? Just engage in Krishna consciousness and not anything else. Why? Because Prabhupada is mentioning it very clearly that except for Krishna conscious activities, all activities are considered to be abominable because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. One should therefore never desire to be the cause of work. Everything should be done in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna. Misers do not know how to utilize the assets of riches which they acquire by good fortune or by hard labor. One should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness, and that will make one's life successful. So, whatever one has in one's possession, taking it as mercy of the Lord, should utilize everything in Krishna's service. That's how one can make one's life successful. Like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ the human energy in the service of the Lord. Next verse, Buddhi yukto jahati har ube sukrute diskrita Ubhe sukrita diskrite tasmad yogaya yujyashva yoga karmashu kaushalam buddhi yukta, one who is engaged in devotional service, jahati can get rid of, iha in this life, ubhe both, sukrita duskrite good and bad results, tasmat therefore, yogaya for the sake of devotional service, yujyashva to be so engaged, yoga, Krishna consciousness, karmasu in all activities, koshalam art. Translation: a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. So, if you are engaged in devotional service, that means you are freeing yourself from all kind of good or bad reactions. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Purport: since time immemorial, each living entity has accumulated the various reactions of his past of his good and bad work. As such, he is continuously ignorant of his real constitutional position. One's ignorance can be removed by the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Lord Sri Krishna in all respects and become liberated from the chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Arjuna is therefore advised to act in Krishna consciousness, the purifying process of resultant action. So, we are all suffering the reactions to our good or bad karma in different lifetimes. And now also we are in ignorance that we are we have no knowledge of the our actual constitution position, and this ignorance can be removed by Bhagavad Gita. And what is essence of Bhagavad Gita? Just surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So we have to come to that point. Then one can be freed from these action reactions. So therefore, Arjuna is advised by Krishna to act in Krishna consciousness. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyakta manishina janma bandhan vinirmukta padam gachanti anamayam. Karmajam, due to fruitive activities, buddhi yukta, being engaged in devotional service, he certainly phalam results tyakta, giving up manishina. Great sages or devotees, janma bandha, from the bondage of birth and death, vinirmukta, liberated, padam, position, gachanti, they reach anamayam, without miseries. Translation: by thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages and devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. So, Krishna is mentioning, see, this is how by engaging in devotional service, even great personalities, great devotees, sages, they have freed themselves from this cycle, karma chakra. So in this way one can become free from all kind of miseries. And then purport: the liberated living entities belong to that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam 10.14.58 says, Samashrita ye pada pallava plavam mahat padam punyo yasho murare bhavam buddhi vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam tesham. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of Mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Param Padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. So, boat, the lotus feet of the Lord is compared to what was except the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord. So, Mukunda means what? The giver of liberation. When one has accepted the shelter of the boat like lotus feet of the Lord, then one can easily cross over this material world, which is like an ocean. Why? Because this whole ocean of material existence becomes like water contained in calf's hoof print. Calf's hoof print is so small. In that whatever water, you can easily cross over that. So this material ocean of material existence becomes like water in calf's hoof print. So one can easily cross that. Parampadam, and one can attain to that place, Parampadam Vaikuntha, the spiritual world where there is no danger. Whereas this place, this material world is a place for Padam Padam Yad Vipadam. Every step there is danger in this material world. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance, only less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that the resultant actions will make them happy. If there is a if the cloth is going bad and um, it is getting torn somewhere, instead of buying a new cloth, one may do some patchwork at that area. But again, if the cloth is very old and it's literally this cloth is going bad, then again at some other place it will get torn. So that's what we are doing in this matter. We're trying to get pleasure this way, that way, or that way, some way, but it's like um, uh, and what we are trying to get pleasure in different ways, and then we suffer from in different ways. Suffering comes anyways, and we try to do some patchwork. Let's say there's some disease or something, okay, did some patchwork, some temporary, some austerities, or what do you say, like they mention the Vedic scriptures, if you want good health, then you worship the sun god. So okay, it is mentioned, so I worship the sun god. So it's not that we are finding some solution, but actually we are just delaying the sufferings in one sense. So like we do some patchwork in the material world, and we think we are very happy, we'll be very happy by that. But no, that is not possible. We may adjust different things, the situations and all, but we cannot be happy in this material world. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, disease, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord, and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Just like the impersonalists, they think what? After liberation, we become one with the Supreme. No, that is not correct. And because of that kind of concept, they have no understanding of what is engaging in devotional service. Because if one, there is no servant and service, there is no question of master and servant, then there is no service, there is no devotional service, there is no loving exchange. So there's always a possibility for them to fall down back to these material activities. He becomes a lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. So, any activity, any service which is done for the Supreme Lord, that is Karma Yoga, or you can say Buddhi Yoga, or you can term it as devotional service to the Lord. Next verse, Yada te moha kalilam buddhi व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च यदा when te your moha of illusion kalilam dense forest buddhi transcendental service with intelligence vyatitarishyati surpasses tada at that time ganta asi you shall go nirvedam callousness shrotavyasya toward all that is to be heard, Shrutasya, all that is already heard, Cha also. Translation: when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport: there are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. Just by executing devotional service, they did not even care for the day to day rituals, rules, regulations, and all. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though even though an experienced Brahmana. So here, rituals is referring to rules and regulations which are related to the fruitive activities, isn't it? So, when one understands Krishna and his relationship, what is our relationship with the Lord and what we are supposed to do, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals. He is no more interested in fruitive activities. Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, Sandhya Vandana Bhadram Astu Bhavato Bho Snana Tubhyam Namo Bhode Vapat Pitarascha Tarpana Vidhau Naham शमयतां यत्र क्वापि निषद्य यादवकुलोत्तं शस्य कंशद्विषा स्मारन् स्मारम् अघं हरामि तद् अलं मन्ये किम् अन्येन मे. Its meaning is, O my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, whenever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. So, Sri Madhavendra is praying like this, that now I can only remember Krishna, and I think that is sufficient for me. I don't need to do any other rituals. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. So they are not bound to follow all these. In fact, they become indifferent, because they are so much engaged in devotional activities, directly services or devotional service to the Lord. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Person, if one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. So, if one is executing all rules, regulations, rituals, and everything, but one has no understanding of what is Krishna consciousness or understanding that one has come to the point of Krishna consciousness, it's all Shrama Evahi Kevalam, it's all waste of time. Next verse, 53rd verse. Shruti vipratipanna te tada stasyasi nischala samadhav achala buddhis tada yogam avapsyasi. Shruti, a Vedic revelation, vipratipanna, without being influenced by the fruitive activities, te yor yada when stasyati, remains nischala, unmoved, samadho, in transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness, achala, unflinching, buddhi, intelligence, tada, at that time, yogam, self-realization, avapsyasi, you will achieve. Translation: when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport: to say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. Samadhi actually means one is fully Krishna conscious. That is one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. So in Krishna consciousness, it's very easy. What one has to do, one has to just follow the instructions of Krishna. Or one can say, one has to just follow the instructions of the representative of the Lord, that is the bona fide spiritual master. If you just follow that, then our life can be successful. Okay, then 54th verse. Arjuna Vacha Sitapragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava stitadhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, Sitapragyasya, of one who is situated in fixed Krishna consciousness, ka, what, bhasha, language, samadhi, stasya, of one situated in trance, Keshava, O Krishna, stitadhi, one fixed in Krishna consciousness, kim, what, prabhaseta, speaks, kim, how, asita, does remain still, vrajeta, walks, kim, how. Translation: Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is submerged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? Purport: as there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man has his symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks, for speech is the most important quality of any man. And certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. Quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to Krishna. Other symptoms then automatically follow, as stated below. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, so Krishna is answering to Arjuna's question, what are the symptoms of one who is conscious, of one who is actually Krishna conscious? Krishna will say now. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Praja Hati Yada Kaman Sarvan Parthamano Gatan Atmani Evatmana Tushta Stita Pragyasta Dochate. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Praja Hati gives up Yada, when Kaman, desires for sense gratification, Sarvan of all varieties, Partho Sunapratha, Mana Gatam, of mental concoction, Atmani, of the pure state of the soul, Eva certainly, Atmana, by the purified mind, Tushta, satisfied, Sitapragya, transcendentally situated, Tada at that time, Uchite is said. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Parth, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, no desire for sense gratification, no, this sense gratification desire arises from where? Which arise from mental concoction. It's not existing, it's arising from all our mental concoction. And when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Purport: the Srimad Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendently situated has no good qualifications because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous effort. So, artificially, we cannot suppress them or stop them. But if we are Krishna conscious, then automatically all those sense gratification desires will subside. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord. Further, also is there, Krishna is continuing to answer that, but today we'll stop here and we'll continue it tomorrow again, the next verse onwards. So, thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.